We're going to go ahead and get started. And yeah, my name is Heather Ayer. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the campaign coordinator at the ACLU of Kentucky. I'm on the advocacy team. So thank you all so much for being here. I just want to go ahead and thank everyone and tell you how appreciative we are for you all taking the time out of your Mondays and your Monday nights and your anniversary celebrations and whatever else you could be doing. We really appreciate you all being here with us and learning about what is to come during this legislative session. As you can see, here is an agenda of what we're going to be going through, just to give you all an idea of what we'll be talking about. You can go ahead and get some questions going in your brain. I think the Q&A feature is enabled, so please feel free to put any questions that you have throughout the presentation in the Q&A feature. They might get lost in the chat, but if you put it in the Q&A, we will be able to definitely get back to you on any questions you may have. And then we will have a slide and hopefully a few minutes at the end to answer any questions you all have. So we can go to the next slide. So this is the advocacy team. We have grown. You will see all of us on here. We might look a little different than our headshots, not as done up personally, but that's okay. I'm not going to go through and name everyone because before each person speaks, they're going to introduce themselves, but just wanted to give you our beautiful pictures to look at for a second. So this is the advocacy team at the ACLU of Kentucky. We can go to the next slide. I'm going to pass it over to my boss, Kate Miller, our advocacy director.
Hey, everybody. Everyone can hear me, right? Somebody will shout if they... Oh, yeah, I've already been talking on this. I forgot. My name is Kate Miller. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the advocacy director at the ACLU of Kentucky. And the fact that you all are on this call means that you're likely somewhat familiar with the ACLU, but for folks that might be new or just to serve as a refresher, the ACLU's mission is to defend the rights and liberties that are enumerated in the constitutions and the Bill of Rights of the United States and Kentucky. So those individual liberties and rights. And what we're particularly interested in are the rights of individuals who are most likely to experience oppression and are the least likely to be able to have the resources to defend their own rights and liberties. So those are Black Kentuckians, other Kentuckians of color, LGBTQ Kentuckians, Kentuckians who have experience with the justice system, or Kentuckians with disabilities, young Kentuckians, a number of other communities and groups that we're most interested in serving. And up next, I'll just briefly describe. Let me go to the next slide. I will name that we are also a nonpartisan organization. So that's something that we really want to lift up. We're not affiliated with any of the political parties that are out there. So we don't endorse candidates. We're very committed to serving as a nonpartisan organization. So we're a 501c3 and a 501c4. So we are empowered to advocate in the Kentucky General Assembly. We have two main areas of work that we are focusing on during this legislative session. These are areas where we think we can be ambitious but have realistic goals. Both Congo and Jackie are going to get into the weeds of what those goals look like, and Brittany is going to talk about the capacity that our team has, but we're really trying to be more streamlined and efficient when it comes to utilizing our resources. And both reproductive freedom and smart justice are areas where we can really see the deprivation of liberty that Kentuckians are experiencing. Being incarcerated in jail or prison, being separated from your family community, and or experiencing pregnancy, particularly in a state where you are essentially forced to continue that pregnancy potentially against your will, are two examples of government overreach that we think are very serious, and that we think we have an opportunity to amend those systems somewhat modestly and provide some degree of relief for Kentuckians. So these are the two areas of work that you're going to see us most focused on during this upcoming session. I think you can move to the next slide. And I think I hand it over to Jackie.
Thank you, Kate. And hello, everyone. My name is Jackie McGranahan. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Senior Policy Strategist for the ACLU of Kentucky and a member of the advocacy team. I'm very excited to be here with you all tonight, and I'm excited to highlight, to work with Heather any chance that I get, and highlight the critical role of volunteer engagement in our legislative efforts in the Kentucky General Assembly. In our pursuit to advocate for policies that promote equity and justice, we recognize the significance of addressing pressing issues such as Black maternal health, abortion legislation, and paid leave. And volunteers are the lifeblood of our organization, and your dedication and passion plays such a pivotal role in advancing our mission. By engaging our volunteers effectively and harnessing your collective power, we can amplify our advocacy efforts and drive meaningful change in these areas. And together, we can ensure that every Kentuckian, regardless of their background, has access to the care and support that they need for a healthier, more equitable future. So people may not understand the reason why we so voraciously defend access to abortion, but it's because we heartily believe people ought to have the right to make the best decisions for themselves when it comes to something as serious as pregnancy and parenting. Access to abortion is intimately connected to maternal health, paid leave, and broader issues of reproductive freedom and economic justice. By recognizing and addressing the importance of access to abortion within the context of these topics, we can work towards a society that values reproductive freedom and promotes health equity and provides the necessary support for individuals and their families to thrive. As a sorry, slide, I have a big family. Did you change the slide? Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. So some of the things that we focus on when we're working on maternal health are addressing poverty and other socioeconomic factors. We support increased data collection and analysis. Of course, additional community supports and representation is so important to the work that we're doing, and support for people who are pregnant and incarcerated. And we can change the slide again, please. And Kentucky, like many states in the United States, faces alarming racial disparities in maternal health outcomes. Black mothers in Kentucky are disproportionately affected by maternal mortality and severe maternal morbidity. These disparities are a result of systemic racism, social determinants of health, and unequal access to quality health care. By advocating for legislation that is specifically addressing these disparities, we can work towards a more equitable healthcare system. Slide, please. Change. Thank you. Paid leave. So when we're talking about paid leave, whether it's maternity, paternity, family caregiving, this provides essential financial security for individuals and their families. It ensures that workers can take time off without worrying about losing income and allowing them to focus on their health and the health of their families and caregiving responsibilities. Access to paid leave is so important, and it leads to increased workforce productivity. It's so important when we're talking about paid leave, maternal health, access to abortion. These are all crucial components of comprehensive family planning. And individuals and their families should have the resources and support that they need to make informed decisions about their reproductive futures, including when, how, or if they want to expand their families. So, in summary, access to abortion is so intimately connected to maternal health, paid leave, in the broader issues of reproductive freedom and economic justice. By recognizing and addressing the importance of access to abortion within the context of these topics, we can work towards a society that values reproductive freedom, bodily autonomy, and promotes health equity to provide the necessary support for people and their families to thrive. Thank you. I'll see y'all soon.
Thank you, Jackie. My name is Kungo Jaguna, and I am a policy strategist with the ACLU of Kentucky. And like Jackie, I want to thank you all for giving us a little bit of your evening tonight. As we see here, I'll be talking about smart justice or criminal legal reform. And all of our smart justice goals are centered around providing common sense alternatives to address the unmet needs of Kentuckians. As you can see from the statistics on the next slide, we live in a commonwealth of mass incarceration. We are among the top states. You can go to the next slide, actually, sorry. We are among the top states in the nation to incarcerate our fellow neighbors. We know that the criminal legal system disproportionately affects people of color and those without means. We can and must do better. So this next slide, please. So this legislation, we will be focused on 4 areas or 4 pieces of legislation. First, we will be pushing legislation and policies that promote substance use treatment over incarceration, mental health treatment over incarceration, because we know that many of the individuals who are involved in the criminal legal system suffer from SUD and/or have a mental health. To truly make Kentucky safer, we must invest in people and not prisons. We should have a detox bed or a mental health bed available just as readily as we have a jail cell available for many of these individuals. As a person in long-term recovery, I, along with so many other Kentuckians, are proof that recovery works. Second, we are working with a national organization known as the Clean Slate Initiative, an organization that works to give individuals with criminal histories a second chance by passing laws that automate the expungement process. Individuals with criminal records have a harder time finding employment, housing, and can be denied government benefits. People are not defined by their mistakes and should be given the opportunity to clear their records so they can contribute to their communities, have a fair chance of being employed, and get an education. Third, we will be pushing legislation to ensure that every person leaving incarceration is given an identification card. Why, you ask? Because an ID is a gateway to employment, housing, and other assistance, which is vital when a person is re-entering society after being incarcerated. Lastly, voting rights. And I think that kind of just speaks for itself. People who have served their sentence deserve to be able to fully participate in our democracy. The time to restore voting rights is today. And of course, I can't talk about smart justice or criminal legal reform without talking, which I think we all know is coming and have heard about, the Safer Kentucky Act. For those who don't know, that is a big omnibus crime bill with 18 and growing number of provisions that add new crimes and enhance penalties and does nothing to make us safer. What I will simply say about that bill is that we are working hard with many of our advocates, some of who are on this call, to work collective advocacy to work to defeat this piece of legislation. And what I can also tell you is that at the forefront of some of that advocacy is that we will have directly impacted individuals meeting with their legislators and telling them why this bill doesn't make us safer. We like to call those individuals in our organizations the smart justice advocates. And to talk more about the SJAs is Latanya and Selena.
Hey everybody, my name is Selena Coomer and I use she and her pronouns, and I am a Smart Justice Advocate Consultant. And the Smart Justice Advocates are a group of directly impacted people, whether by incarceration or recovery or advocates. And we get together monthly and we empower one another to prepare our lived experiences to share with legislators in Frankfort. And we do monthly meetings. We will have 3 lobby days this session. We will provide testimony for the things that Congo shared about, and attend and speak at press conferences. And Latanya, you want to do the other slide?
Okay, I'm trying to see the slide and I'm not able to for some reason. Okay, hold on. Go ahead and do it, Celine. I don't want to hold it up, but I can speak on some stuff.
Okay, so our upcoming lobby days are going to be Wednesday, January 24th, Wednesday, February 28th, and Wednesday, March 20th. And then our next February meeting will be February 1st, where the people of Clean Slate will be coming and doing a training around Clean Slate. And then we will have another meeting in March 7th and April 11th and May 2nd. And we are just a group of people that would not normally mix, but we have a passion for criminal justice reform and for what truly makes a safer Kentucky. People re-entering society successfully, set up with the needs, the basic needs from prison and recovery. And okay, Latanya, what were you going to say?
What was I going to say? Oh, so also we don't want to forget that we also collaborate with other entities that's doing the work in the community, and we're boots on the ground. We set up tabling events. We collaborate with other agencies, like I said, that's out here doing the work in different forms, but they're doing kind of what we're doing. And we make ourselves available to people in the community, like if they need us to show up and do something and be a part of. And that's a lot of things that we work on outside of the legislative session too. We think of ways that we can help the community and make a better impact on what's going on around us.
And I believe that's all we have on SJA.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Rochelle Harris. I use she, her, hers, and I am the Advocacy Administrative Assistant, and I'm also a member of the Breaking Barriers Council, which Jackie McGranahan was talking earlier about maternal health and how she has, this is her mission. This was her little baby that she created that came from this, and it is she created this group. It's called the Breaking Barriers Council, and it's a group of experts and advocates from around Kentucky working to reduce racial disparities in maternal and infant health and improve outcomes for all Kentuckians. So Breaking Barriers is a group of people who include doulas, attorneys, doctors, and other advocacy organizations, and people who have personal experience with the challenges of pregnancy and, motherhood and other things. So that is all I have to say.
All right, so my name is Brittany Harris, and I'm the advocacy intern with the ACLU of Kentucky. I use she, her pronouns. Earlier was kind of mentioned by Congo and by Jackie, even by Kate, about the team's capacity. I think in past years, ACLU employees, especially the policy strategists, have kind of had like a specialty, like Congo's really, really great with criminal justice. And Jackie does really well with reproductive justice too. So this year we're trying to be a lot more intentional with our strategy and be more proactive with how we approach things. I think we spend a lot of our time on the defense, and that sucks up all the air and all the things that we do. So with us being more intentional, we hope that that decreased workload will contribute to us reaching more of our goals. This does not mean that we will not be supportive of bills within the scope of civil liberties, or that we will not support in the defense of nasty bills. And on the Crown Act and racial justice legislation, each of our issues discussed in the previous slides are rooted in the need for racial justice. And our organization has put a strong effort into passing a statewide version of the Crown Act and will continue in those efforts. I know right now we're looking for bill sponsors for the Crown Act to be filed this year. And you can go to the next slide. Okay, so last year we saw an unprecedented amount of anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ legislation. Members of the majority party have created a harmful narrative, and we will always be there to react to their narrative. The ACLU works closely with the Fairness Campaign and the Trans Justice Coalition, among other groups, to help defend the rights of the LGBT community. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Brittany. So hopefully that gives you all a little bit of a general understanding of where we are going into the legislative session and how the advocacy team has pivoted a little bit and shifted our focus this year so that we can hopefully be more strategic and the most effective that we can be. And so that we can especially do that with our volunteers because one, we are a statewide organization, but a lot of us are like, we live in Louisville. And so we need people from all across the state getting involved in order to make the change and organize for the change that we want to see here in Kentucky. I recognize a lot of your all's names because you all joined us for either our Reproductive Freedom Project Action All Call or for one of our local action team meetings, or maybe you came to our Reproductive Freedom Project benefit at the Speed back in October. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about our Reproductive Freedom Project campaign in case you all hadn't heard the exciting news. We are working with Kelsey Coots, who is on this call with us, and she is the person behind moving the PowerPoint along. And we launched our Reproductive Freedom Project campaign. This is a chance for us to really build off of the momentum and the power that was built back in 2022. I almost said last year, but we are now in 2024, which like time means nothing. But we're really working on continuing that momentum that we built around the anti-abortion constitutional amendment, which we won, which is a huge victory and something that I'm still incredibly proud of. And so we wanted to take that power and that energy and really turn it into a focus on the legislative session, because we have seen that people's legislators are not voting the same way as their constituents did. There's a reason for that. We're trying to figure out what that reason is. So we're trying a lot of different things to figure out what sticks and to figure out how we can make the most change for the most amount of Kentuckians during this legislative session. And then we're not going to stop there. We're going to continue into the summer and into the fall. We're just going to keep working to build that power locally in any House district. It doesn't matter which House district you live in or Senate district, but we do have strategically chosen certain districts that we are going to focus on. So basically, the purpose of the Reproductive Freedom Project campaign is to get you all involved how you want to be involved, especially if you were heavily involved in the anti-abortion constitutional amendment campaign to defeat that. If you weren't involved then and you want to be now, you are more than welcome to join us. We are creating local action teams, which I will talk about a little bit in the next slide. I think there's a little lag. So local action teams. This is something that we started doing back in, I don't know, September, October. We'll have our third one in 2 days on Wednesday, January 10th. So if you want to join, you can go to the link that Kelsey just put in the chat. So we're having people come together once a month for an hour and talk about how they can be most effective during this legislative session. We are working together to develop rapid response activities because we are having to respond to bad bills, but we also want to develop proactive organizing strategies alongside our policy strategists to try to get some of that legislation that Jackie talked about, the maternal health legislation and the paid family leave legislation, across the finish line. Because while we're living in a forced pregnancy and a forced birth state, we still have people who are getting pregnant and they need support. They are giving birth. They need support. They deserve to have healthy pregnancies and healthy births and healthy children, especially Black and Brown Kentuckians, who we know are disproportionately affected by those really bad maternal health outcomes. So we are working with our local action teams to really figure out what works best in each district. And we are hopefully going to be fighting back, or we are going to be fighting back, and then also getting harm reduction legislation passed. So like I said, our next local action team meeting is on Wednesday. It's at 6 p.m. It's an hour long. Kelsey's got some really fun activities planned, and you can sign up at the link in the chat. We are really excited about it and hopefully going to give you all some next steps to do during the legislative session to support what we are doing. And then we can go to the next slide. So another way to get involved is through lobby days. I know that some of you all have been to lobby days, either with us or with other organizations. I personally think they sound a little more intimidating than they actually are. I'm always intimidated by them before we have them, and then we have them, and it's really fun, and it's great to see people get to meet their legislators or meet other legislators, even if they don't represent them directly. But lobby days are basically a certain day throughout the legislative session. Yes, Joni, they are really important and fun. I agree. We have different days that we've chosen. Our first one is going to be January 17th, so 1 week from Wednesday, and it's going to be focused on paid family leave. So last year we did it a little differently, where we kind of just let people choose what issues they wanted to talk about, and this year they're going to be focused. So we're going to be going in to Frankfort on Wednesday, January 17th. We're going to meet together in the cafeteria, give you the talking points about paid family leave. We're going to have meetings set up for you, and we're going to send you out not alone. You're always going to have an ACLU of Kentucky staff person with you to talk to legislators about why we need paid family leave. We need to expand access to paid family leave here in Kentucky. If you come to Frankfort, you decide, oh, I don't actually want to speak in any meetings, you don't have to do that. You can come, you can sit in, you can listen, you can learn. There's no pressure on doing anything you're not comfortable with doing. Yeah, I always really enjoy lobby days. I wish that I had gone to one before I started like doing them. So I really enjoy them. We also have some other ways to get involved. This is a lot, but don't get overwhelmed. This is some of the stuff that we're going to be doing within our local action teams. We're going to be figuring out what works best for each different community, because we know that the same thing isn't going to work the same all across Kentucky. But we're going to have texting, we're going to have text banks. You are more than welcome to come to Frankfort and attend committee meetings on your own. If you don't live in Frankfort, you don't live near Frankfort, it is a bit of a drive. And so if you have like the resources and you have the type of job where you can come during the middle of a workday, you are more than welcome to come to Frankfort on your own and watch a committee meeting, go up, sit in the House gallery, watch the proceedings. You can also testify. The public is welcome. Something I didn't know until like 2 years ago is that anyone can come and testify. Anyone can come and sign up to testify. That doesn't mean that you're going to testify, because there are certain rules. The chairs of the committee can decide who testifies, but you are allowed to come and sign up. So if you have a personal story or a specific reason why you're really either opposed or supportive of a bill, you can come and share that story. Again, you can share your personal story. You can share it with us at the ACLU of Kentucky. We have a share your story form, which I'm going to email out after this. You can share it with your legislator. You can share it on social media, whatever you're most comfortable with. Sharing your personal story is incredibly important. We all have reasons for being passionate about this work. We all have very personal reasons why we're passionate about it. And it's important for legislators to hear that. They probably also have personal stories for why they chose to run for office. And so we believe that sharing your personal story, if you're comfortable, is a great way to affect change. You can also write op-eds and letters to the editor. That's something that we are more than happy to work with you on. Our communications team, Angela Cooper, she's our director, is amazing. She has templates for op-eds and letters to the editor. Especially if you live, I mean, if you live anywhere, but really if you live like outside of Louisville and you have a smaller community, smaller papers, like that's a great way to get your voice out there and to find other people who might agree with you and want to also get involved. Angela put in the chat, she would love to help place an op-ed for anyone on here. We also are going to you can encourage your friends and networks to contact their legislators about legislation that you really care about. That's one thing that we are really focused on in the local action teams is trying to get everyone to contact their legislator either through email, over the phone, text if you have their number, to let them know your opinions on legislation. We always hear during House and Senate proceedings, oh, I heard from this many constituents, and we really want to increase that number on the bills that we really care about.